The United States is just days away from defaulting on its debt, and what does that mean for our financial markets? John Deaton found something in the footnotes of one of the documents for the Ripple versus the SEC case, which should hopefully bring good news for Ripple as well as XRP holders. And then the last thing, one of the lawyers for Ripple filed a motion and it was granted by the judge to recuse herself from the case. We're going to talk about the reasons why. So make sure you guys tune in all the way to the end of this video. Hey guys, it's Ryan with Big Dog Investing. Thank you guys for tuning into my channel. If you guys could do a couple of things for me, if you guys go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to my channel if you guys have not done so already. Click the bell notification down below so that YouTube can send you guys notifications whenever I release videos. Watch my videos all the way to the end. And if you guys could, share my videos and share my channel with anyone. I'm trying to grow my channel as much as I can, and I definitely need your guys' help in doing so. Getting started, today's going to be Thursday, May 25th. The total market cap for all cryptocurrency right now is $1,109,000,000,000. This is a 0.19% increase on the day today. Bitcoin right now is currently trading at $26,494, Ethereum $1,807, and XRP is currently trading at 45.32 cents. Getting into our biggest gainers and losers of the day, PLSX is going to be up 11.4%, RNDR is going to be up 4.1%, and AXS is going to be up 4%. Our biggest losers on the day, Hex is going to be down 14.9%. NEO is going to be down 5.4%, and Kava is going to be down 4.8%. Now, for cryptocurrency, we're still right now above that $1 trillion market cap. Depending on what happens with the debt ceiling and the talks about it, if it gets raised, we could possibly have a nice run up or stay about stagnant. But if the debt ceiling does drop and we don't actually find out something, it's going to put the market into chaos. And I do see us falling under, again, no financial advice, but I do see us falling under that $1 trillion market cap. Now, Ducey asked Biden, do you think that if the debt ceiling is breached, which means that there's no deal that actually gets made, nobody is going to blame you? And Biden says, of course not. No one will blame me. I know you won't. You'll be saying Biden did a wonderful job. Now, there's a bunch of talks that Republicans are having these discussions that they want to destroy the police departments. They want to cut funding to it, which was the complete opposite of what was happening during the pandemic and everything else like that, as well as just a bunch of things that are going on. Republicans are the only ones that have actually proposed a bill and actually had one passed. Democrats have not even proposed a bill. They haven't even had anything in writing, but they keep on saying that Republicans want to hurt the economy. Republicans want to hurt the American people, cut funding to social welfare programs, stuff like that, which is completely not true. And Democrats have not even come up with a bill or even any talks of coming up with a bill. Now, moving on though, Biden says, I'm not going to agree to a deal that protects wealthy tax cheats and crypto traders while putting food assistance at risk. He forgets to say that they printed and squandered trillions of dollars. That's why we have problems. Now, we keep on sending money overseas to Ukraine. I think we just sent another $330 million to Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken. So we keep on sending money overseas. And that money could be used for these food assistance programs that they've been talking about, so that supposedly Republicans want to cut. And I think it's funny that he says these crypto traders. It's really entertaining. Moving on, though, right here, a lot of the executives actually sat down in front of Congress of Silicon Valley Bank and First Republic Bank, and they were asked several questions about how much money they made. They made a bunch of money due to a lot of their mismanagements of their banks, loaning out massive amounts of money, and they received these commission checks for them for giving out these massive loans, and then eventually they became insolvent, but they reaped in millions of dollars. Now, he was asked in court, do you plan on giving back any of the money that you received in compensation? And he kind of went around the bush. Again, you guys can watch the video in the comments, but he beat around the bush with it, didn't answer, and then finally says, no, I don't plan on giving back any money. Of course you don't. You destroyed your bank, you took a bunch of people's money, and then you tarnished that banking institution, and then it got swallowed up by JP Morgan Chase. So now they're trying to monopolize banks while this person got super rich. Us as customers were affected the most. Now, I wanted to show this really quick. It says, great video, review video of how insane the mob was during COVID. So this was perpetuated throughout a lot of news organizations and Democrats, some Republicans as well, because, I want to be impartial as much as I can. But they're saying nobody's safe. You're going to die if you don't get the vaccine. Now, one of the huge things that Democrats want to do right now is cut funding to big pharma. And it's really funny that they say they're going to cut funding to big pharma, yet they allowed a lot of these pharmaceutical companies to make massive profits during COVID. Just last year, Moderna made $18.4 billion in profits from its vaccine. Pfizer made $100 billion in profits last year. 57 of that million was from its vaccine as well as its antiviral pill. So when they perpetuate this on the news for you guys to see and then say, oh, we want to cut funding, Republicans love big pharma. It's the complete opposite. Democrats pushed big pharma and they made these reaped in these massive profits, and supposedly they're going to cut funding to these big companies, yet they allowed them to thrive so much during COVID. As well as, again, I'm going to bring this up about small businesses. A lot of these small businesses actually had to close down to the rules and regulations from a lot of these governments. And a lot of these small businesses didn't actually ever open their doors again. They just couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford to keep their retail spaces open, pay their employees and everything else like that. Yet the likes of Amazon and Walmart had these massive profits during COVID because they had an online business and people needed to shop for their groceries. So those stock prices went up. So when they say that they're for these small businesses, it's the complete opposite. They shut all the small businesses down, monopolized. Now, moving on though, Janet Yellen comes out on the news and says deficits can be addressed both through changes in spending and also through changes in revenue. And Republicans have taken that off the table. Now, changes in spending. Obviously, we need to cut our spending. If we're spending too much money, we keep on getting in further and further debt. That's why we keep on needing to raise the debt ceiling. Now, there's a bunch of speculation and a bunch of reports that Trump raised the debt ceiling 3 times while he was in office. Well, that was true, but that was through the Democrats as well, paying for these COVID subsidies and stuff like that so people can stay at home and everything else, giving these monies to small businesses and these even big corporations to pay their employees who didn't want to go to work. Okay, that's what it was. And then through changes in revenue. Now, changes in revenue, the only way that the government actually gets revenue is through taxpayer dollars. So when they keep on saying changes in revenue, it's raising the taxes. Now, they're going to keep on saying that they're going to raise the taxes for the super wealthy and the super elite, which they might a little bit, but even the middle class will be affected as well as low income earners. So what they're trying to do is shrink the middle class to keep on relying on the government. Okay. Now, getting into some more crypto news right here. Bitcoin Miami took place, and I wanted to show you guys this video. And this is how I think a lot of people in the crypto space are exaggerating on a bunch of things. Now, you guys can't listen to this video. It doesn't make any sound, so I'll just mute it because you guys can't see. But they're ripping up dollars. And I was told that these are fake dollars and stuff. But it doesn't matter. They keep on saying Bitcoin's the best, and that you're going to tear up. We don't need American dollars. All we need is cryptocurrency. Okay. Obviously, that's not true. Cryptocurrency has a valuable place, but it's never going to completely replace physical dollars. Okay. It's old money. It's old institutions. Banks don't want to get rid of it. Obviously, governments want to a little bit because they want a little bit more control on things, but dollars are always going to exist in some sense, at least for the next 50 years. Now, to rip up these dollars and keep on showing, and they did this for cheers and applauses for about 4 individuals. So it just shows how counterproductive this actually was. Getting into some Watcher Guru news, though, the White House says that the stock market will crash about 45% if we default on our debt. Now, obviously, we don't want this to happen. We don't want to see our markets fall, but they will if we do not default on our debt. President Biden says he won't agree to a debt deal that protects crypto traders. Again, cryptocurrency has a valuable place. Obviously, we've seen that the SEC wants to tarnish cryptocurrency. We've seen this versus the Ripple versus the SEC case, Ripple versus Library, Ripple giving a Wells notice to Coinbase. All of this, they're trying to hurt crypto. They're trying to hurt innovation. And again, hurt small businesses or new businesses for thriving in the United States. Yet overseas, we're seeing a lot of adoption for cryptocurrency technology. Moving on, though, 13 years ago, a man paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 Papa John's pizzas. Today, 10,000 Bitcoin is worth $267 million. Now, he was asked a question, do you regret doing this because that money would be worth X amount today? And he said, no, I don't. And obviously, he's not going to regret it because it just shows that we can actually use cryptocurrency to pay for things. It is a payment option if we choose to do it. Dubai developer to build the world's first Bitcoin tower. That's going to actually be pretty cool. I kind of actually want to see what that's going to look like. White House says 8 million jobs will be lost if the U.S. defaults on its debt. I don't know if it's going to be exactly 8 million, but anyone who's working for a federal job will actually not receive any paychecks. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says it's now highly likely the U.S. will run out of cash in early June. So I talked about this, that there was speculation again that we were going to default on June 13th, June 6th, and now it's going to be June 1st. Hong Kong to allow retail investors to access licensed crypto exchanges. Again, further innovation outside the United States. House Speaker McCarthy says we're not raising taxes. The problem in Washington is it spends too much. And I completely agree with this. We don't need to keep on raising taxes, okay? Oh, we have this new project. How are we going to pay for it? Well, we don't need to cut spending here. We could just raise tax dollars. Again, that's not an option. China launches government-backed metaverse platform. China and Russia expedite plans to develop the BRICS payment system. They want to get rid of the United States dollar. Okay, this is why our dollar keeps getting devalued across the globe right now. Chinese government-backed hackers attacked and compromised critical U.S. infrastructure. Microsoft says again, China, and there's going to be a lot of other crypto attacks and technological attacks. So make sure you guys keep your guys' wallets safe. Don't give out your guys' keys, and make sure they're like two-factor verification. And do as much as you can to protect your guys' keys. President candidate Ron DeSantis says that there will be no central bank digital currency if he wins a 2024 election. Now, he went on to Twitter and he actually announced in the Twitter space, it actually did have a lot of issues. A lot of people couldn't join it, and supposedly it did crash Twitter Space. I was in it. I didn't actually see it crash, but they said that there was a crash. But I knew that was hard for me to get into. Once I finally got in, I never got kicked, but there were some people who did get kicked, which was actually really cool to show that a Twitter Space could actually get that big, and shows that the further innovation of what Musk is doing over here on this platform. Germany officially enters a recession. Again, this is not good. We're going to see a bunch of other countries follow suit with this, in my opinion. The United States, technically, in my opinion, is in a recession, but the U.S. government keeps on changing the definition of what a recession is. NYC freezes deposits at Capital One Bank, and that's because they failed to disclosed some documents that they needed to, but time's going to tell what happens with that. Elon Musk Neuralink receives FDA approval to launch an inhuman brain chip. Now, I currently would never get one of these. I think they're actually really stupid, but supposedly in the future, everyone might have one of these embedded in their brain. Basically gives their brain the ability to function like the internet does. Again, it's kind of cool. It's interesting. In my opinion, I'd never use it. Moving on, though, Ledger CEO, the only concern is if we get by the government. Now, he's in this interview. There's a bunch of talks with Ledger. We've talked about this on my channel for the last two videos. A bunch of people say that Ledger is completely in the wrong for this, for coming up with new ways for people to keep their shards safe and secure, so they don't just remember a certain seed phrase or 20-word phrase, whatever, however many words you put down. Now, in my opinion, I was against this for a little bit. I was still for Ledger. I'm still going to continue to use Ledger. I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes it out to be. Obviously, the government's going to want control in everything, and they're going to continue to try to have control. So, Ledger, in my opinion, is trying to actually get new customers. Zach Rector actually was the one that pointed out this and said that what Ledger's trying to do is they're trying to make cryptocurrency easy for your average individual. Now, if you guys are in cryptocurrency, you guys have bought cryptocurrency, you guys have sent money from one wallet to another wallet, it's kind of complicated. Ledger wants to make this a little bit simpler, and by doing this, by creating these seed phrases and shards for recovery, to use your ID to get your shards back, so that when they combine, you get your seed phrase, and you don't. It's just less complicated for individuals if they ever lose their seed phrases to get access to their money, because we've seen a bunch of individuals. For one example, one person had his keys on a computer in Britain, and it went into a landfill, and he tried to get the money back because it was worth a couple $100 million. In my opinion, again, I don't see this as a complete negative, especially because Zach Rector pointed it out and made me think about it a little bit. It's just a way to make crypto trading a lot easier for your average individual. Moving on, though, MetaMask says they reserve the right to withhold taxes where required, according to Crypto Mason, another company seemingly for decentralization. Now, in my opinion, a bunch of people, again, we have taxes for a reason. We have to pay taxes. Again, not a lot of people enjoy taxes, but they do, again, pay so we don't default on our debt. But we don't need to have an increase in taxes, or an increase, especially for just crypto trading. Okay, it should be considered as an investment if that's what it is, and we should get taxed as such. But they should reserve the right, as other companies reserve their right, like our jobs and stuff like that, reserve the right to withhold taxes. In my opinion, I don't see this again as a negative as much as everyone else does. It's just your way of basically making sure that the IRS doesn't come knocking on your door and then you having to pay these massive fines. Now I always talk about Hedera, and another way Hedera keeps on growing is on the Joe Rogan Experience. They talked about this karate combat coin. Basically, what this means is that people can use this coin to make bets and stuff like that on karate. Joe Rogan says, you know what, if the UFC did something like this, it'd be very useful. And if 10% of the money or whatever gets bet actually goes back to the fighters, that could be something that could show a lot of adoption. And it just shows that the Hedera ecosystem keeps on growing, especially for it to be shown on the Joe Rogan experience right here. It just shows further, again, how Hedera is dominating the crypto space. Obviously, XRP and Ripple are my favorite, but Hedera is probably my number two. Now, this is a long interview. It's 50 minutes. I watched the whole thing, but they're just talking about the case and his recent discovery that he made that we're going to talk about here in just a second. But if you guys want to watch this, it's 50 minutes. You don't need to watch the entire thing. You guys can scroll through a little bit, but we're going to talk about some of the things that were highlighted. But right here, there's an interesting take on the SEC. I should have put this before, so sorry, guys. But this is an interesting take on why the SEC attacked XRP from Digital Asset Investor. Now, again, with this, I do believe this guy is Coin Bureau. I could be wrong, but I think that that's who it is. But right here in this video, he talks about why that the federal government sued XRP, and it was so that eventually the government can come up with something like FedNow and implement it before the case is over. So if you guys want to watch this conspiracy thing, I would more than highly recommend you guys do that. Again, I'm supposed to put this in here, so sorry. But late last night, Coinbase replied to the Third Circuit to the SEC's arguments against our petition for writ of memorandums. Mandamums is the tailor-made remedy for the extraordinary facts presented here. We continue to appreciate the court's consideration. If you guys want to, you guys can list it. But in the comment section right here, they talk about regulation through enforcement actions, pardons of the agency, threatened enforcement action against Coinbase, SEC's track record, SEC's enforcement actions, and SEC chair's statements. So if you guys want to read through the whole thing, it's listed. Now, what we're going to talk about is the SEC staffs that there is reasonable grounds to believe that XRP is not a security. That's by an SEC enforcement lawyer. By the SEC changes Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson with the recklessness because it's so obvious that XRP is a security. Absolutely shameful. Now, it's in the footnotes right here, but we're going to read through this whole thing right here. It says, contemporaneous SEC communications suggest that the SEC's own officials were well aware that the speech would lead to blank. Okay, it's redacted. We can't view that because it's an actual like saying by an SEC official. They actually, when these documents were made public, they wanted statements to not be shown. So right here it shows, and deliberately be recommended by giving industry participants redacted, presumably to give the agency more room to maneuver. The SEC has equivocated as to whether Hinman's speech reflected official SEC guidance. And none should therefore be treated as a security. There is reasonable grounds to conclude that the XRP does not satisfy all elements of the Howey analysis and is therefore not a security for its purposes of the federal securities laws. Right there just shows that the documents stated that XRP, that there's reasonable grounds to say that the XRP does not satisfy all of the elements of the Howey analysis, hence should not be considered a security. Now, John Deaton comes out and says that he cannot wait for these emails to be released. I predict even non-XRP holders, including Ripple critics, will have to objectively say to whether the SEC did is flat out wrong. The inquiry about the motive behind this lawsuit will go into a higher gear. Mark my words. Now, this is really really surprising again because John Deaton did tweet this out, and he does discuss this. He says, when you look at the SEC and all of the other SEC lit emails cited in Ripple's opposition, they are all redacted, and that one about there being reasonable grounds to believe that XRP itself does not consider itself a security is not redacted. He talks about that the SEC wanted all of the statements that are the staff to be redacted. That's what we talked about right here, that they're blanked out. That means they're redacted, and it appears that they were. What this tells me is that the statements about XRP not satisfying Howey is not a direct quote from a senior SEC official. Otherwise, it would be redacted. He says that he's concluded that the statement was made by a market participant independent of Ripple, not by the SEC, but it was referenced by someone in the Hinman emails, or a third-party email was forwarded to Hinman or the email group discussing the speech. He says, I always want my comments to be based on facts, so I'm making this clarification. Although it isn't direct quote by an SEC official, it is still damaging as hell because it demonstrates XRP was discussed. Someone at the SEC passed this XRP opinion to the email group for a reason. Now, this just shows, again, further clarification that this was discussed, and this is why, in my opinion, that the SEC did not want all of these emails to be made public. It did get extended until the 13th, and right here it shows why. And there's a lot of conspiracy theorists about the reasons why, but can anyone of you attorneys confirm this? It says, what the U.S. statute of limitations for criminal violations. So they talked about that Huber came out and says, isn't it odd that the SEC and Ripple agreed to delay to disclose of the Hinman emails until the 13th of June, 2023, which is exactly 5 years after the Hinman speech was delivered. Are there any statute of limitations for the Hinman emails to be charged by the public? Again, 5 years later, 5 years. Maybe the SEC and Ripple might not know, or they do know, and is part of one of their agreements later on when they officially make their settlement. But in my opinion, they're trying to make sure that Hinman does not actually get charged for violating some sort of law as an oath of office. In my opinion, I think this is completely wrong. If this is actually true, and that's the reasons why, I do believe that they should extend the statute of limitations on this, because it just shows that they are basically in cahoots to make sure that he doesn't get in trouble for his actions, even though he's in a ongoing investigation right now for this. But in my opinion, we'll see what happens. Right here, the documents are likely to reveal dissenting opinions with the agency's own ranks as to which cryptocurrencies are securities and why, and by doing so, they are likely to bolster Ripple's case. And this is only just going to bolster Ripple's case, that if Ripple actually wins this case versus the SEC, now doesn't come into a settlement, but actually wins this case, it'll be great for all cryptocurrencies. Now, if Ripple settles, it only gives clarity on XRP token and does not give clarity for anything other in the crypto space. So only time's going to tell. But this article was written by Forbes. I would highly encourage you guys to read this. It has a bunch of stuff. It's unpacking the Hinman emails, goes into further clarifications on a bunch of stuff, but I highly recommend. And the last thing right here says, attorneys Kylie Cheezel Kim has moved to withdraw as counsel to Ripple Labs. The motion was granted by the judge, so she actually is no longer going to be a attorney for Ripple in the case. But a lot of people were speculating that the various reasons why, it's because the settlement's been done, or she knows that Ripple's going to lose. None of those are the actual reason. I did some digging, and she's actually just leaving the law firm that represents Ripple. So since she's leaving the law firm was hired by Ripple. So somebody else in this law firm will take over if needed. But in my opinion, Ripple's still in good hands. They know what they're doing. This attorney group will figure something out to compensate for her leaving. In my opinion, it's not negative towards the case. We're going to be doing our XRP giveaway in this next video. I'll put in the rules for that. I'm sorry, it's been a really busy week. We're finishing up the school year, so I'm going to be done teaching for this year as of tomorrow. So I've just had a lot of stuff going on, so I'm sorry. The details will be in the next video, so make sure you guys tune in for that. Thank you guys, and I appreciate you guys. If you guys can't invest with the big dog, stay on the porch. Thank you guys, and have a good one.